At 6 a.m., under harsh bathroom light, the face becomes a battlefield. One wrong cleanse, one overzealous scrub, one product piled on top of another, and the skin answers back with redness, tightness, shine, flakes, or that deep, stubborn ache of irritation that can linger for days. That is the strange reality of facial care. The thing meant to make us look better can, if done badly, leave us worse than when we started. And yet we keep coming back to it day after day because the face is not just skin, it is identity. It is the surface we present to the world before we say a single word. So how did facial care become this strange blend of ritual, science, commerce, and self-control? How did a simple act of washing the face evolve into a global obsession worth billions, built on microscopic pores, acids, oils, enzymes, sunscreens, and a never-ending promise that the right routine can make time itself behave? Let's step into the steam, the mirror glare, and the quiet panic behind that daily routine. Long before there were shelves packed with serums and foaming gels, facial care began with a far simpler problem: survival. Ancient people faced sun, ash, dust, smoke, sweat, and disease without the luxury of modern plumbing. Early facial cleansing was not about glow. It was about removing grime so the skin could breathe, healing cuts before they became infections, and trying to reduce the visible damage of a brutal environment. In desert regions, people used plant oils and crushed minerals to soften the face and shield it from wind and sun. In colder climates, animal fats and balms served the same purpose, though the texture was thick, heavy, and often smelled like the campfire and the hunt. There was no universal face wash. There was only whatever could be found, mixed, and rubbed on the skin by candlelight or firelight. Over time, as courts and cities grew, facial care became more than hygiene. It became status. Clean skin suggested access to water, leisure, and servants. Pale skin signaled that a person did not work under the sun. The face became a social billboard, and the products used on it became signals of wealth, discipline, and belonging. Some mixtures were elegant, others were dangerous. Lead-based powders, abrasive pastes, harsh bleaches, and fragrant oils all entered the ritual, each promising beauty while quietly carrying risk. The irony is brutal. People have always wanted the face to look alive, yet many of the earliest beauty mixtures actively damaged the skin barrier that keeps it alive. That tension never disappeared. It only became more sophisticated. Fast forward into the age of chemistry, and facial care stopped being just folk practice. Scientists began to understand the skin as a living organ with layers, glands, lipids, and a delicate balance of moisture and protection. The outer layer, the stratum corneum, works like a wall made of bricks and mortar. The bricks are dead skin cells. The mortar is made of lipids that help hold everything together. If that wall is too dry, water escapes and irritation gets in. If it is stripped too hard, it cracks. If it is clogged with excess oil and dead cells, pores can become trapped with debris and inflammation can follow. Suddenly, facial care was no longer a matter of pretty smells and old wives' recipes. It was chemistry with consequences. A cleanser is not just soap. It can be a surfactant system designed to lift oil, sunscreen, pollution, and sweat without destroying the lipids that keep the face comfortable. Exfoliation is not just scrubbing until things feel smooth. It is controlled removal of dead cells, and the method matters. Physical exfoliants use particles or friction. Chemical exfoliants use acids such as alpha-hydroxy acids or beta-hydroxy acids to loosen the bonds between surface cells. One approach can be precise. The other can be a disaster if the particles are sharp, the pressure too aggressive, or the skin already stressed. And then there is hydration, the misunderstood heart of the whole operation. Water alone does not solve dry skin. The face needs humectants that draw moisture in, emollients that soften rough edges, and occlusives that slow evaporation. That means ingredients like glycerin, hyaluronic acid, ceramides, squalene, and fatty alcohols are not marketing fluff. They are engineering. They are the difference between a face that feels calm and one that feels like cardboard in winter. But the real revolution came when people stopped thinking of facial care as a single act and started treating it like a sequence. Cleanse, treat, moisturize, protect, repeat. That simple framework changed everything. A cleanser removes the day. A treatment targets a specific problem. A moisturizer restores what cleansing may have disturbed. Sunscreen acts like a shield against ultraviolet damage, which is one of the main drivers of visible aging, pigmentation, and long-term skin injury. That last step might be the most underestimated in the entire routine. Sun exposure does not just darken the skin. It quietly breaks down collagen, disrupts pigmentation patterns, and accumulates damage over years until the face tells the story in lines, uneven tone, and sensitivity. Protection is not glamorous. It is powerful, and it works better than almost any miracle promised in a jar. If you're obsessed with uncovering the science behind the routines we trust with our own skin, hit subscribe. We explore the hidden systems behind everyday rituals like this every week. Now back to the skin. Once facial care became systemized, the industry around it exploded into a war of claims. Hydrating, brightening, anti-blemish, firming, calming, repairing. The language multiplied because the anxieties multiplied. Acne became not just a medical concern but a social one, especially in adolescence, when the face becomes a stage for identity and embarrassment at the same time. A single breakout can feel like a spotlight. A flare-up before school, a meeting, a date, or a wedding can feel enormous even if it is biologically ordinary. That emotional pressure created an opening. Entire product lines were built around the promise of control. Control over oil, control over pores, control over age, control over confidence. But the face does not always obey. Skin reacts to hormones, whether stress, friction, diet, sleep, medications, and genetics. That means two people can use the same product and get completely different results. One sees improvement, the other gets a rash. One tolerates a strong acid serum, the other burns after one use. Facial care at its core is personal experimentation under uncertainty. There is no universal recipe. There is only pattern recognition, patience, and restraint. And restraint is where most routines fail. The modern obsession with facial care often tempts people to overdo it. Too many actives, too much scrubbing, too much switching, too much chasing instant change. The skin hates chaos, it loves consistency. That is the hidden truth behind so many successful routines. They are boring, gentle cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen, maybe a treatment for a specific concern, maybe not, no fireworks, no miracle. Just a repeated series of small actions that keep the barrier intact and the inflammation down. Microscene after microscene, this is what the routine looks like in the real world. Cold water running over the fingers, the soft drag of cleanser across the cheeks, the slight squeak of skin that is clean but not stripped, the faint medicinal smell of a targeted treatment, the slow absorption of moisturizer, the final matte or dewy finish under the mirror light. These details matter because they reveal something deeper. Facial care is part science, part sensory ritual. People do not only want results. They want the feeling of caring for themselves. They want the private evidence that they are not neglecting the one surface the world sees first. But behind closed doors, there is a less glamorous reality. Formulation labs spend months balancing pH, preservative systems, texture, stability, and irritation potential. A cream that feels luxurious can separate in heat. A serum that promises transformation can oxidize before it reaches the customer. An exfoliant can work beautifully on paper and still provoke stinging, flacking, or rebound oil production in real use. Packaging matters too. Air, light, contamination, and repeated finger contact can alter a product long before it is finished. Pump bottles, opaque tubes, and sealed containers are not just aesthetic choices. They are defenses against decay. And then there is the hidden economy of expectation. A product does not just sell ingredients, it sells hope. It sells the fantasy of a calmer morning, a better selfie, a little more control before stepping into the day. That is why facial care is such a powerful cultural machine. It sits at the intersection of health and vanity, science and insecurity, routine and aspiration. Companies know this. Influencers know this. Consumers know it too, even when they pretend not to. The secret is that most improvements happen slowly enough to be easy to miss. Less redness after 2 weeks. Fewer clogged pores after a month. Less dryness in winter. A more even tone by summer. A face that looks less like it is fighting the environment and more like it has made peace with it. That is the real prize, not perfection, stability. In the modern world, facial care has expanded beyond beauty counters and bathroom shelves into dermatology clinics, digital communities, and personalized routines built from data, climate, lifestyle, and skin type. People now talk about barrier repair, non-comedogenic formulas, pigmentation control, sebaceous activity, transepidermal water loss, and photoprotection with a fluency that would have sounded arcane decades ago. The average person might never use the term lipid matrix in conversation, but they understand its consequences when their face feels tight after a harsh wash. They may not describe melanin synthesis in technical language, but they notice uneven tone under daylight. That is how facial care has changed culture. It has made millions of people amateur skin scientists, and like all science, it has its limits. A routine cannot erase sleep deprivation, stress, or biology. It cannot stop aging. It cannot make a person invincible. What it can do is support the skin enough that it performs its job better. That job is immense. The face endures sun, wind, pollution, sweat, shaving, expression, and touch. It stretches when we laugh. It tightens when we worry. It reddens when we're embarrassed. It carries every late night and every long season. Facial care is our attempt to cooperate with that burden instead of fighting it blind. So what does the future look like? More personalization, more barrier-first thinking, more evidence-based simplicity, and perhaps less obsession with dramatic claims. The smartest routines are likely to become even more targeted, products matched to climate, skin reactivity, age, and lifestyle with less waste and fewer unnecessary steps. The trend is moving away from punishment and toward maintenance. That is a profound shift. It means the goal is no longer to wage war on the face, but to keep it functioning, resilient, and calm. That may not sound dramatic, but it is. Because in a world that constantly asks us to perform, facial care is one of the few daily rituals that reminds us the body responds best to patience, not force. And that brings us to the strange power of this subject. Facial care is not really about vanity, and it is not just about health. It is about the human desire to look at our own reflection and feel that the surface matches the person behind it. That desire has shaped ancient powders, modern serums, scientific breakthroughs, and entire industries built on a few square inches of skin. If that kind of hidden complexity fascinates you, subscribe to this channel because we turn everyday rituals into stories of science, psychology, and human obsession. The face is the first place the world meets us. Let's keep learning how to care for it, understand it, and decode the forces shaping it one mystery at a time.